Have you ever wondered why some people's money seems to grow effortlessly, while yours barely lasts until the end of the month? I used to wonder the same thing. For years, I blamed my low salary. But the truth is, the problem wasn't my income, it was my system. In this video, I'm going to share the 3 phases of personal finance that transformed my life from being buried in debt to achieving financial freedom. I'll give you real examples, clear numbers, and the step-by-step process I used to make my money work for me. If you want to break free from financial struggles, build a solid foundation, and reach the point where your money grows on its own, stick with me until the end. Right now, take action. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment telling me which phase you're in today. Let's walk this path together. At 26, I was earning a decent income, but I never saw the money. My salary came in, the bills went out, and I lived counting down the days to my next paycheck. Every time I tried to save, an emergency popped up, a car repair, a medical bill, or some unexpected expense. When I finally woke up, I was over $8,000 in credit card debt, paying interest just to stay afloat. That's when I decided things had to change. I started studying personal finance and stumbled upon a truth that turned everything around. The road to financial freedom is divided into phases, like levels in a video game. You don't start by investing in stocks or real estate. You begin with the basics, grounded in reality, and level up over time. These 3 phases are like steps anyone can climb with planning, patience, and discipline. To make this clearer, I'll share the story of Raphael, an ordinary guy who went through all these phases and came out with a completely different life. Chapter 1: Survival Phase. The survival phase is where most of us start. It's the stage of daily struggles, end-of-month anxiety, and a constant battle to pay bills on time. Here, money is always scarce, sometimes not even enough to cover everything. The worst part? Many people stay trapped in this cycle their entire lives. I met Raphael during this phase. He was 23, working as a salesperson at an electronics store, earning $2,400 a month. He paid rent, sent $300 to his parents, and had $5,000 in credit card debt that kept growing due to interest. The first step in this phase is painful but necessary. Face reality. Raphael created a simple spreadsheet listing all his income and expenses. He discovered $800 of his salary was vanishing into food delivery, coffee, and small, invisible expenses. He cut everything non-essential. He moved out of an expensive rental and shared an apartment with a friend, saving $400. He canceled his credit cards and renegotiated his debt into 12 fixed payments of $500 at a lower interest rate. With these changes, he generated a small surplus of $300 a month, modest, but enough to start climbing out of the hole. Survival isn't about getting rich, it's about breathing again. The goal here isn't to save big, but to stop the financial bleeding. This phase rests on 3 pillars: expense control, debt elimination, and habit building. Raphael tracked every expense, avoided impulse purchases, and switched to using only a debit card. After 14 months, he cleared all his debt. For the first time in his life, he felt peace looking at his bank balance at the end of the month. That was the sign he was ready for the next phase. Chapter 2: Stability Phase. When you escape survival, something shifts inside you. Fear gives way to confidence. You realize that with control and strategy, money can start working for you. This is the stability phase. Raphael reached this stage at 25, debt-free, with a still modest income, but now with clarity, control, and, most importantly, discipline. His first move was opening a separate account for an emergency fund, saving $300 a month. In less than a year, he had $3,600, enough to cover 3 months of basic expenses. With the emergency fund in place, Raphael took the second step, learning to invest. He started simple with the Select Treasury, putting in $200 a month. The returns were low, but the goal was to understand how money behaves outside a savings account. Bit by bit, he gained confidence. He studied real estate funds and began diversifying, investing $500 a month into treasuries and stable stocks. By the end of his second year in this phase, he had $12,000 invested and $5,000 in his emergency fund. Stability is about learning to live below your means. Raphael was now earning $2,800, but lived as if he earned $2,000, not out of necessity, but out of wisdom. He knew every dollar invested today was a brick in his future house of freedom. He also started thinking long-term, creating a spreadsheet with medium-term goals: switch jobs, increase income, invest in education. He studied digital marketing at night, and 2 years later, landed a job paying $4,500. The key? He didn't upgrade his lifestyle when his income rose. Raphael kept his habits, investing $1,200 a month and saving another $300. By age 29, he had over $50,000 accumulated and a rock-solid financial routine. Stability is the bridge between those who merely survive and those who start building. Chapter 3. Freedom Phase. Freedom is when money stops being a burden and becomes an ally. You work not out of obligation, but by choice. Your investments generate enough income to cover your lifestyle and beyond. But this phase doesn't happen overnight. It's built on everything you've done before. Raphael reached this phase at 35 with a solid emergency fund, a clear investment routine, and an unshakable mindset. He invested $2,000 a month into a diversified portfolio: fixed income, real estate funds, stocks, and a small digital business generating $1,500 monthly. His investments totaled over $250,000, with an average annual return of 10%. That's $25,000 a year in passive income, like a second salary without working. But Raphael didn't stop there. He ran the numbers. If he continued investing $2,000 a month at a 10% return, he'd have $700,000 in 10 years and over $1.2 million in 15 years. The best part? He could retire at 50 with passive income from rentals, funds, and his digital business, bringing in over $6,000 a month. What truly defined this phase wasn't the money, it was control. Raphael could choose where to work, how much time to take off, how to raise his kids, and where to live. He was no longer a slave to paychecks or bills. Meanwhile, many of his childhood friends were still stuck in survival, drowning in debt, with no emergency fund or plan, believing wealth was only for the already rich. Freedom isn't a magical destination. It's a daily construction that demands patience but rewards you with priceless peace of mind. When you get there, you realize money was never the goal. It's a tool to live life on your terms. Conclusion: a powerful comparison. Let's wrap up with a striking contrast between those who move forward and those who stay stuck. At 38, Raphael was at peace, with freedom, options, and financial security. But at a school reunion, he met Douglas, an old friend, and saw a stark difference. Douglas earned well, always had good jobs, but never left the survival phase. He upgraded cars yearly, lived in an expensive rented apartment, spent on fancy dinners, financed vacations, and flaunted on social media. That day, Douglas admitted he was $60,000 in debt, had no emergency fund, and maxed out 2 credit cards. To outsiders, he looked successful, but inside, he lived in silent chaos. Meanwhile, Raphael, who lived simply and strategically, had surpassed $1 million in investments. He could quit working if he wanted. He didn't need luxury to prove anything, because he knew true wealth is the power to choose. That reunion was a turning point for Douglas, and it can be for you too. No matter where you are, what matters is deciding to move forward. The financial journey isn't about magic formulas. It's about respecting the phases, adjusting habits, and making conscious choices daily. You don't need a huge income to start. You just need to know where you stand. If you're in survival, focus on cutting expenses, clearing debt, and organizing your life. If you're in stability, learn to invest, stay disciplined, and build your foundation. If you've reached freedom, use money as a tool to live with purpose and help others. Raphael was no different from you. He started with debt, a low salary, and doubts. But he took action, and over time, he built a life most only dream of. Now it's your turn. If this video inspired you or gave you a spark, subscribe, like, share it with someone who needs it, and comment which phase you're in. Let's grow together. Remember, time passes anyway. Your only choice is whether to stay still or move up a phase. See you next time. Note: this content is educational and not investment advice. Consult a certified professional for financial decisions.